We need to talk about what's going on with product labeling. Yesterday, I was walking around the supermarket and I was amazed, first of all, by the prices. That's a whole topic for another day. I didn't want to do that back to back with my fast food, complaining about fast food prices that I did last night. But walking through the supermarket, it was weird. I went down the aisle with all the snacks, and if you guys are coming into this, you probably have seen on the channel here. We do our little silly snack reviews. They're short series that I have here, where me and my son try stuff, and they're snappy little things that we like to do. So I was looking there for inspiration. Maybe I'd grab a handful of things and we could do a silly snack review live stream. And what I saw was what you saw in the thumbnail coming into this, unless you're coming in to the vertical stream. And if you are here, I put a poll. Do you prefer horizontal or vertical? For those of you who aren't listening today and are watching the visual, I'm doing this as a vertical live stream, just to test it out. I'm trying different stuff, trying to use all the features. But when I saw this aisle in the supermarket, I was amazed. You look at that and it defies all logic in terms of advertising and in terms of brand and product differentiation and just overall store organization. It looks pretty. I mean, that's definitely a positive. But when you zoom in a little closer, this amazed me because I had an observation about buying a soda, Coca-Cola, recently. I try to stick to diet soda as much as I possibly can. I feel like something like soda, you shouldn't be drinking calories like that on a regular basis. But you do what you got to do. This is not an advice stream. But with regards to this aisle in the supermarket, it was amazing to me. There's at least 6 different types of Triscuits in this aisle, but you wouldn't be able to distinguish them. I mean, there's very subtle differences in the packaging. And then when you get close, when you actually zoom in close, I took different shots of different parts of the aisle just so that we could talk about it here. But on the upper left, on the top row are the organic. And what differentiates those is there's a little green thing at the top that says organic, but the rest of them don't have that. I mean, you have to be looking really close to even be able to catch that. So, if you were sent to the market to get Triscuits by your significant other, and they adamantly had to have the organic ones, and you get home with the not organic ones, you could be in trouble. And I wouldn't want to be in trouble for buying the wrong Triscuits. Let's put it that way. First of all, Triscuits are categorically one of the worst snacks. So just the fact that there even are this many varieties. I mean, it's not Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its are a good snack. Triscuits are definitely one of those kind of weird niche snacks that not a lot of I wouldn't imagine a lot of people have a lot of demand for. But looking at all these different varieties, that there's a whole different thing. Going back to this picture of the first one where we have the organic at the top, then we have the family size original in the next row. Then under that, we have the original made with sea salt. At the very bottom of this picture here, right where I have my mouse hovered, there's hint of sea salt. Now I should have actually done a snapshot of the original versus the hint of sea salt, because original says it's made with sea salt. And this is another one of those things. It's like, how mind-numbing does it have to be to make sure that you get the right one? Then at the top, you also have thin crisps, and it's like, okay, there's a whole nother one. Now, as you move down the aisle, they get a little bit more diverse in terms of what they are. On the top shelf, you have all thin crisps. We have the original, the jalapeno, the tomato basil, and I'm not only going to be picking on Triscuits during this podcast stream. I'm also going to be picking on some other, like Oreo and other people as well, and Coca-Cola. So we have that to look forward to if you're here. If you are here, make sure you hit a thumbs up and consider subscribing. So looking at these, moving down, then we have, I guess the second row is all family size. I think it's also interesting. I didn't compare the this isn't a price stream, but I didn't want to talk about price because yesterday we talked about financial, and today we're talking about a whole different thing. You have your reduced fat, your roasted garlic, and then under that, it's interesting that the family size, which is a larger box, is just 10 cents more at this market. This is Market 32, which is Price Chopper in my area. It is the market that everybody wants everybody doesn't want this market but wants Wegmans in my area. That's kind of what it is. And then under that you have the others. The cracked pepper ones at the bottom here kind of intrigue me. I want to try those one day. Then moving down the aisle, there's even more. There's more thin crisps. There's a barbecue flavor, sour cream and onion, Parmesan garlic, and by that point you get into where the wheat thins are. But going back to the original here, you could see that that's a lot of Triscuits. Now, what I want to know, and this is going to get into a little bit of advertising theory and just retail kind of, and I will preface, I'm not an expert in retail. I'm a chemist by trade who, as a side gig, does YouTube food content here. So I don't know everything there is to know about design and, everything I'm going to talk about, but I am going to introduce these topics as something that I'm familiar enough with just to have a conversation with you about. But one thing what a brand does when it's going to install a line of things in a store, toys, sodas, any product, they think about how it's going to look on the shelf. And from there, they design what their packaging is going to look like, the dimensions, all those little intricacies before they even get to considering the things like what's going to get somebody to purchase. And when they do this, they draft what's called a planogram. What a planogram is when you have this entire line of SKUs, like for example, when we look at this picture of all these Triscuits, each of those is going to have a different SKU or UPC code on the back that distinguishes them from each other. So when you have those lines of products, where are they going to fall on the shelf, such that you maximize the people reaching for them, but people putting them in the carts and walking home and purchasing them? So that's kind of what goes into it. So when I see something like this, it's baffling to me that whatever parent company makes Triscuit, which I assume they also make wheat thins and chicken and a biscuit, they pay per foot of shelf space. It's amazing to me that they would dedicate that much to Triscuit in the first place, because who likes Triscuits that much? But also that they would have so many different differentiating within the Triscuits line. And furthermore, even if they were to have that, why is the packaging on all of them so similar? It's one of those things like, yeah, I think their logo is actually, I didn't even put that up, but I think their text and their logo, I think it's a great logo. It's very clear, very easy to read. Nice. I can't really. Can I zoom in? Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Nice. There we go. Perfect. So I think their logo actually looks great. Nice tight lines. Your little wheat thing in the middle there. So that I think is a great depiction of that brand. But then when you zoom out and you see all these different varieties, all these boxes look the same. It's amazing to me that a product line who designed a planogram decided that all these different SKUs were going to look so identical on the face value. When you walk down the cereal aisle, you have all your different cereal brands, no matter how similar or how different they are. At some point you are going to actually see, different. They look vastly different. It's amazing. Even between like corn checks, rice checks, wheat checks, those have completely different colors. And that to me is definitely puzzling. So as you walk down the aisle a little bit more, this was another section of the same kind of area in the same aisle. And now, like, as a classical, so I'm pretty susceptible to this advertising stuff. I see a sexy label and I reach for it. Those are the types of things that are what gets me going in terms of buying product. I have to say a shout out to Chantel, who was in the chat here. Hi, Chantel. Nice to see you here. But what I go for when I see things is what stands out. Like even on a fast food menu, they have their numbered value meals. I almost never go for those. I go for whatever the special promotion of the day is. So if I'm looking at what's on the screen here, and I'm walking down this aisle and I see this planogram, I'm definitely not reaching for those premiums which are on the bottom. Now, one thing that you have to know about retailers, they usually put the things that have the biggest margin, at eye levels. That's what you pick first. So what I would probably go for here is, I think, the better cheddars. I really like the better cheddars. Back when Noah was first born, we used to buy those a lot, and those are the type of thing. But if you look at it based on what's here, those, they have that red, they pop. But also, I love sociables in this aisle as well. So, I personally can't go wrong with what's in this picture here. But I think the two top shelf, the sociable and the better cheddars, are what I would go for. Then you have your chicken and a biscuit, which I think is another kind of fun cracker. It's essentially MSG on a cracker, which I think is also really funny. Um, you have all these diverse crackers, your wheat thins, which have that kind of illusion of being healthy, and then you have, God help me, all these Triscuits, which are another one of those things that people associate with diet a lot. Even though they're pretty calorically dense if you eat those quite a bit. But it's just amazing to me that when this brand, who is this brand? Let me see if I could find this. And there's another fun fact about this particular setup that I want to point out, because I think it's really funny, because you can see right through. So this is a market called Market 32, and you see all these nice blue Triscuit boxes, and at the very bottom you have the old school logo Triscuits. See if I could zoom in to see what those are. Oil and sea salt. Now, I bet you those are like what's been hanging around, and they're trying to get rid of those, just because everything's in a match. But isn't it weird that kind of the whole topic of what we're talking about here? Isn't it weird that all of these labels are so similar? It's just amazing to me. That was something that I wanted to talk about here tonight. In the same vein, and I'll get back to the same type of argument for the type of stuff. But I wanted to show this example because this is a really funny one. This is Coca-Cola's current cans, how they're labeled. So at the very top on the left, we have cherry zero sugar. Next to that on the right, we have cherry regular. To the right of that, you have your Coca-Cola Classic. To the right of that, on the top row, you have Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Now, let's talk about cherry first. Between zero sugar and original, the difference is the text is black versus white. That's the only difference in those. So if you're somebody who's, let's say, diabetic, and you have to have the zero sugar, and you're not looking carefully enough, you might pick the one that's purple and say, hey, I know that one is okay. Obviously, if you're diabetic, you should be a lot more careful about picking up the sugar sodas. But it's one of those things you don't even think about it. And the same thing goes for every single version of Coca-Cola in this line. Furthermore, here's another interesting thing. The cherry vanilla has kind of a mixture of the cherry label and the vanilla label. So it's like now you have to look at, is the can a two-tone? Does it have the, what do you call it? The tan and purple and black versus white. It's just, to me, I think it's highly confusing. I think if they had different logo, they've gone for, and I'm not a designer. I understand that probably whoever came up with this, it probably did a lot of market research, and probably went to school for a long time and has a lot of experience in doing this type of thing. But to me, it's just like, as a consumer, it just seems confusing that you have to kind of understand this visual nomenclature in order to know which one you got. And then even then, like I'd be second guessing. I know I go to the gas station and I like to get the cherry, the Coke Zero cherry version if they have it. Um, but sometimes they don't have it, but they do have the full sugar cherry version. So I always make sure that I double check, triple check, because I don't want to get burned that way. But I do know now that the Coke Zero, which is what I usually buy, is the Coca Cola, is the red can with the black um, text. So that's another one of those things. It's kind of amazing that they've reduced the design so much that it looks nice when you look at it. Here it's elegant. It's I think sexy is the word that I like to say in terms of this design stuff. Like it's definitely really cool looking that all these cans, there's a through line between all of them and all the design. But as a consumer, to me, it just seems highly confusing. I may be, maybe I'm not as smart as most people, but I think that's definitely one of those things that is odd. So another thing I wanted to look at, as you go further down the aisle with the crackers, you come to the cookies. And one of the things we do here a lot, Oreo cookie reviews. I try to throw them into every batch of silly snack reviews that we record, and it's a fun. They're always coming out with new Oreo flavors. The most recent one I did on a live stream a couple of weeks ago was the Sour Patch Kid Oreos. Definitely an odd flavor. If you see it, check it out. I think it's a lot of fun. But you get to the Oreo aisle, and I mean, you can see that there is distinction between each of these when they're displayed sideways like this. But even here, it's kind of, you got to get up close, and you got to be that kind of person to pick it up and be like, okay, am I going to get the mint ones, or am I going to get the chocolate ones? Do I want chocolate, or do I want, what is this here? Dark chocolate, or um, do I want peanut butter or chocolate peanut butter pie? And it like, to me, I feel like they're so similar that a consumer can easily be confused. Even reduced fat, it's not even reduced fat. That's double stuff. Even between double stuff and regular Oreo, you kind of have to look very closely to see that there's a difference, because even on the labels, there's like family size, and there's so much on the labels to distract you. But where is the reduced fat here? I don't even think I got that in the picture, because up here we have toffee crunch, birthday cake, and we're not advertising. We're not sponsored by Oreo here, guys. That's for sure. Um, lemon are my favorite, by the way. Lemon Oreos are god tier. And then even when you get to the gluten free, here we go, gluten free. You have gluten free regular, gluten free golden. The one thing I will say about Oreos, they do have them on the side of the packaging. So if nothing else, you can go off of that, as opposed to the Triscuits, where the only difference on the Triscuits was that what's particularly on the cracker is different. The crackers are the same, and what's around them is a little bit different. So I kind of understand the logic, but it just, to me, is now I'm back on the Triscuits again. It's funny watching the views come in on this. And if you're swiping through and you see this, hi, I'm talking about labels on food today. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Walking down that aisle a little bit more, you come down to this kind of Ritz cracker thing, and again, you almost have to look with a magnifying glass to see what's different about these things. Here's another, like, Ritz crackers. I think what they did here in terms of planogram, you can kind of see the logic. You have your party size here. They have different pictorials on there. Then under there, you have your different, they're clearly distinct, different looking, different color schemes, but still kind of the same overall overarching logo. Let's see what some of these flavors are, because I'm curious now. Honey wheat Ritz sounds very good. I haven't had a Ritz cracker other than the original Ritz in a very long time. We have I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this. Thionexel saying Reese's packaging is goaded. I do think Reese's has Reese's or Reese's. Let's talk about that for a second. But I think Reese's has actually really minimized, I guess is the right word, their packaging. And I do agree with you. Their packaging is goaded, the greatest of all time, probably the greatest candy of all time as well. That we could debate another time. Then we get down to in the same aisle, the Chips Ahoy, and here I think they make an even better distinction between all the different kinds that they have there. And we have our buddy Reese's here, Reese's, and I think even that is kind of nice, minimal. I think looks really good, and Reese's and Hershey's are same brand, but here, I mean, this is clearly a very different thing. Like here's your Chips Ahoy Reese's, the crunchy ones, and then you have your Reese's Chips Ahoy soft ones. So I think those are much more distinguishable than our buddies, the Triscuits. The Triscuits. This is just it. When I tell you, I was walking through the store and it amazed me. You guys might think this is like minutia, and it totally is. But it was one of those things where I was just flabbergasted by how similar all those packages were. But I thought that was definitely something interesting to present for tonight. And if you missed out on my discussion of fast food stuff last night, make sure you go back and watch that. That was a really good one. I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can check that out as well, or up on the screen here. Thank you so much for stopping by tonight, and you have a great night.